the story behind this door. An American story that helped change the course of Jewish history. The story in America of the Jewish National Fund. Just a door on 69th Street in New York City, but through it march the builders of a nation. Americans who, like Israel's leaders, share a dream, a sense of history. The spirit of Herman Zvi Shapira, practical visionary and father of the Keren Kayyemet, lives in this building. And from its walls, the grave prophetic eyes of Theodor Herzl, spiritual founder of the Jewish state, watch approvingly. For here the epic dream is furthered. Today's leaders, Yitzhak Ben-Zvi, the President of Israel, and the dynamic Prime Minister of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, architects of tomorrow, charge this atmosphere with excitement, with electricity. Yes, there is history and drama. The drama of leadership and the maturing of a movement under men of stature and of strength. But history is made a step at a time. And in the JNF house on 69th Street, the nerve center of American Jewry's will to reclaim and develop an ancient soil, on the surface the daily work is prosaic. Yet all who join in the task know its meaning. For each file is a record of dedication, a chapter in a story of fulfillment. Each visitor has helped to bring to life an ancient dream, the dream of Israel reborn. When Dr. Harris J. Levine, JNF president, consults with Mendel Fisher, executive director of JNF for more than a quarter of a century, he knows that the pen with which he signs each document writes also a new line in Israel's history. In that history, JNF's material support has played a significant role. Mr. Albert Schiff, treasurer of the JNF, and Miss Juliet N. Benjamin, associate treasurer, share the inspiration of a great record. More than $225 million raised since the founding of the organization. Rallying others, leaders like Maurice Levin, chairman of the Palestine Land Redemption Campaign and a major contributor, has spurred the giant growth of the JNF during the last 25 years. At this table, the epic process goes forward day by day. Here, all of America's great Zionist organizations join with a common purpose. When the executive director deliberates with committee heads of JNF, the will and faith of all who cherish Israel's growth are mobilized. Here, through Mrs. Beatrice Weiss, speaks Hadassah, the largest Zionist organization in the world. Through Mrs. Maurice Plesser speaks Mizrahi Women, the major women's religious Zionist organization in America. Through Mrs. Ann Thaler, Pioneer Women, dynamic distaff side of the labor Zionist movement. At this table, the Zionist Organization of America, represented by Judge Selig Schwartz, with all other Zionist bodies, brings its vast and long experience to bear on common problems. And Mr. Alexander Mahler of the Folks Organizations, like other of America's great service organizations, joins in the deliberations of the group. The fruits of partnership between each of the great Zionist bodies and the JNF can be seen in every part of Israel. The door on 69th Street has had a part in the imminent opening of the doors of the great Hadassah Hebrew University Medical Center, which stands on JNF land. The healing hands of Hadassah have reclaimed more than 158,000 dunams of land in tracts from Dan to Beersheba, planted almost 2 million trees, contributed through JNF alone, more than $14 million since 1926. On farmlands provided by the JNF, the Mizrahi Women's Organization of America has established the Betsy Gottsfeld Children's Village and Farm School at Ra'anana, one of a network of institutions throughout Israel. Here, children from 25 lands live and work in harmony, learning the secrets of the soil. With all other constituent organizations of the JNF, the Pioneer Women's Organization has fused the pioneering spirit of America with the pioneering life of Israel in the valleys and on the mountainsides. In Tel Aviv, the Daniel Frisch House stands as a symbol of the great role of the Zionist Organization of America, one of the chief architects of the American JNF. At Kfar Silver, the ZOA has honored a champion whose voice rang out in Israel's cause in the halls of the United Nations, Abba Hillel Silver. This village, built on JNF land, like all of the efforts undertaken by America's national Jewish organizations, is a living reality, not only in Israel, but in New York and Los Angeles, in Chicago and Philadelphia and Boston. B'nai Zion, the oldest Zionist fraternal body in America, has helped write history in Kfar B'nai Zion. The organization provides the largest per capita support to the JNF. And history has been made in reclaiming land like this by the Progressive Zionist League, which, as Hashomer HaTzair, laid the cornerstone for the kibbutzim which now dot the map of Israel. America's largest Jewish service organization, B'nai B'rith, has joined hands with the JNF in establishing the Martyrs' Forest, in solemn memory of those who perished in the Hitler terror. In this work, we take for granted the miracle of unity and common action. Here, Achdut Avodah and the United Zionist Revisionists participate with all other organizations. In the house on 69th Street, Nathan Levine, chairman of the religious group Contacts Department of JNF, symbolizes the support of Mizrahi, Hapoel HaMizrahi, and all of America's religious Zionists. And words spoken here by the chairman of JNF's Labor Department, Louis Siegel, may mark the beginning of a new effort by thousands of members of the Labor Zionist Organization of America. Kfar Blum, built by the Labor Zionist Organization in tribute to Léon Blum, former Prime Minister of France, is one of many such efforts undertaken. Like all of the projects built through American JNF, it is a monument to the dedication of hands and hearts in Israel and in far-off America. The gap of distance has been bridged in many ways. Under the direction of Harry Wall, chairman of the Youth and Education Department, American JNF now, as from the beginning, is a channel for education and for instilling through word and deed the Zionist ideal. Educational materials have been placed in the hands of 500,000 children in Jewish schools. The Golden Books of JNF have been a golden book of education for the entire Jewish community of America. The blue and white box from the beginning has been a classroom and a training ground. For young people always, as they have collected funds, it has been not only coin by coin, but truth by truth. For these American children, JNF has been the means by which they have learned that the holy soil of Israel is priceless in the lives of the Jewish people. What is the worth of a square inch of holy soil? How do you measure the value of a living tree? Who can place a price on the realization of a dream? This landscape, this growing, thriving place called Israel, was shaped by Jews throughout the world, and in that shaping, the heart and spirit of the Jews of the United States have played a major role. Land was acquired inch by precious inch for the whole of the Jewish people. Land like this in Tel Aviv and environs. Land like this land in Haifa, Israel's gateway to the world. Land like this land in Jerusalem, the city of David, the city of God. Land, inch by precious inch, acquired through the work and dedication of American Jews, 6,000 miles away. Then came the challenge of reclamation of that land. And one instrument of reclamation, a tree. The Jews of the United States, like the great folk hero in America, Johnny Appleseed, figuratively marched through the land of Palestine. The bare brown mountains sprang to life. Trees, the eternal symbol of life, covered the rocky land with a green mantle of beauty. Reached deeply into ancient soil, announcing by the act of growth the will of a people to reclaim a land. There was no state, but there was land, the basis for a state. J&F Holdings would largely determine the boundaries of a nation. The moment came, the dreamed of, hardly to be believed moment, May 14th, 1948, the proclamation of the State of Israel. A moment hoped for, prayed for 2,000 years. All that had gone before, all of the skill and experience and dedication would be needed in a gigantic effort, unmatched in modern history, an effort to prepare a land for tens of thousands of newcomers. An effort to provide security by ringing the land of Israel with border settlements. An effort to make the land fertile, productive, and fruitful to feed a doubled population. An effort to add a third dimension to the land, length plus width plus productivity. In these efforts, in the first 10 years of Israel's statehood, the J&F fulfilled the deepest dreams of the founders. In 1948, J&F held 942,000 dunams of land. By 1958, J&F held 4 times that area, 4 million dunams, the property of the whole Jewish people. In the first 10 years, J&F reclaimed 450,000 dunams, planted 31 million additional trees, established 521 new settlements. In this magnificent decade, the malarial swamps of the Hule were drained in an engineering feat that captured the imagination of the world. The conquest of the desert was begun. Land which had seen no green nor living thing for centuries would bloom again. Life-giving, dignity-giving work was provided through more than 4 million workdays for Israel's new Olim. Add to these figures a statistic which is not a statistic, but the living heartbeat of the Jews of the United States. Of all support provided by World Jewry to the Jewish National Fund, America's contribution is some 75%. In the achievement of that record, over the years, the J&F has pioneered on many fronts. The J&F floated the first public bond issue for Israel for redemption of the land more than 20 years ago. The J&F obtained the first large-scale loan, $15 million from the Bank of America, to be backed only by the word of the American Jewish community. For the first time in the history of America, a president of the United States, while still in office, appeared on the speaker's platform of a national Jewish organization, Harry S. Truman, whose glorious role in the historic drama of the restoration of Israel has earned the everlasting gratitude of the Jewish people. The Vice President of the United States, Alvin W. Barkley, also added the power of his position, the wisdom of his age, the endless energy of his personality to the saga of American JNF's accomplishment. In the land of Israel, the evidence of American effort is everywhere. Look to the names of the forests honoring America's past, marking her present and shaping Israel's future, paying tribute perpetually to those whose voices were in the vanguard of the struggle for Jewish statehood. Living tributes all. Among them, a profound tribute to a woman who has become a legend in her own lifetime, Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt. Wherever the eye turns in Israel, American JNF's concern is seen. Consider the Hebrew University, one of the great and growing educational institutions. Consider Technion, training ground of Israel's engineers and technicians, the key to public works, industrialization, self-sufficiency. Look to Rehovot, where the Weizmann Institute, named for the first president of Israel, fosters scientific research of worldwide interest. Or the Bar Ilan University, a center for man's spiritual growth. All stand on JNF land. In the sweep of 50 years, American JNF has been led by men of vision and idealism. Today, the JNF goes forward with the active counsel of its 4 living presidents. Dr. Emanuel Newman, Zionist theoretician, world leader, and member of the Jewish Agency Executive. Dr. Israel Goldstein, under whose dynamic leadership the organization reached its greatest stature. Judge Bernard A. Rosenblatt, co-author of the Pittsburgh Program, today the chairman of the foundation of the JNF. And Dr. Harris J. Levine, eloquent protagonist of the JNF, who is now completing a decade of dedicated leadership as president. Perhaps as they discuss the gigantic operation they have helped to build, their memories reach back to recall the great men and women who dreamed and planned and worked to build the JNF in America. They will never be forgotten. Professor Harry Friedenwald of Baltimore, one of the early Zionist pioneers. Dr. Judah L. Magnus, who saw the Keren Kayemet as the practical instrument for achieving Israel's statehood. Justice Louis Dembitz Brandeis, whom President Wilson called this friend of justice and of men. Rabbi Stephen S. Wise, whose powerful voice could reach deep into the hearts of American Jewry. Professor Albert Einstein, whose active interest and support turned the eyes of the world toward JNF's objectives. Chaim Greenberg, whose magnetic personality rallied the energy of labor. Rabbi Meir Bar Ilan, world leader of religious Zionism, whose force of spirit helped the movement grow. The spirit and genius of Henrietta Zold, founder of Hadassah, whose intellect was matched by her greatness of heart, inspires us freshly each day. As does the memory of Professor Gustav Klausner of St. Louis, a leading spirit of American JNF. We remember with love and admiration Judge Morris Rothenberg, president of American JNF during the tragic years of war. We remember all whose greatness is our legacy. Today and tomorrow the work goes forward, and American JNF adds links to the golden chain of continuity which spans the history of the Jewish people. Through the Foundation for the Jewish National Fund, Americans reach forward into time eternal. We cannot name them all, but we remember those who have passed on, yet whose gifts stand out in our memory. Maxwell Abel of Chicago, founder of Gvat Mordecai. Michael Weiss, who willed $250,000 for a housing project in Adulam. Boris and Eva Smoller of Chicago, donors of one of the largest gifts in J&F history. Like these who stand for all the rest, American Jews in increasing number are making their rendezvous with destiny. In their own lifetime, through the Foundation, American Jews are bequeathing a gift of the future for generations to come. Through miles of trees, guardians of the Negev's roadways, shelter belts which anchor the shifting sands and make the desert tillable. Through Nachlaot, tracts of land for agricultural settlement, and land to be used for housing Israel's new immigrants. Through all of these, the foundation of the Jewish National Fund is providing a new channel for Israel's growth, today and tomorrow. In the house on 69th Street, a dedicated staff directed by Mendel Fisher helps implement decisions made possible only by the constant effort of thousands of loyal and devoted volunteers throughout America. Of all the dramatic efforts to be undertaken, none symbolizes more fully the shared tradition of Israel and America than the great project of which former President Truman served as honorary chairman with a sponsoring committee of governors of each of the states, the Freedom Forest. On this site, Americans will plant 51 forests in one, a forest for each state in the Union and the District of Columbia. Here, 2 million trees will grow as surely as American-Israel friendship and understanding. On this hallowed ground, Bar Kokhba made his last stand against the Roman legions in the cause of freedom. Here, in a shrine of human freedom, through an act of faith, the Freedom Forest will reaffirm a common heritage. Like American J&F for more than half a century, the Freedom Forest will unite the great traditions of a nation which brought forth a new birth of freedom, and of a people which first gave to the world a vision of universal freedom, brotherhood, and peace.